Have you ever wondered why, in worlds filled with infinite magic, we're talking dragons, wizards, spaceships, our imaginations can sometimes just stop when it comes to race? Well, we're going to dive deep into that with this absolutely brilliant book, Ebony Elizabeth Thomas's The Dark Fantastic. It really digs into how our favorite stories, everything from Harry Potter to the Hunger Games, are shaped by this deep and often invisible logic around race. The book kicks off with this incredibly stark warning. These are the words the author's mother told her when she was just a young black girl in Detroit. Now, this wasn't meant to be cruel. It was about survival. In a world with very real dangers, the message was pretty clear. Those magical escapes, the epic quests, the fairy tales, they just weren't meant for her. And right there, you feel the personal stakes of this whole discussion. And look, this isn't just a hunch or a feeling. The data absolutely backs it up. For years and years, the Cooperative Children's Book Center has found that a staggering 85% of books for kids feature white main characters. Thomas argues this isn't just a diversity issue. No, it's a massive failure of our collective imagination. She gives this a name, the imagination gap. See, when kids grow up only seeing one type of hero, it does more than just affect their self-esteem. It actually stunts the development of their imagination. It traps them, and really all of us, in a single story about who gets to be the hero, who gets to have adventures, and who is worthy of being saved. So why does this gap hang on so stubbornly, especially in fantasy, the one genre that's supposed to be about limitless possibility? Well, Thomas has identified this powerful recurring pattern in our stories. She calls it the dark fantastic cycle. And this brings us right to her core concept, the dark fantastic. It's her term for how racial difference actually works inside these imagined worlds. It's a framework where the dark other, the character of color, is often, whether we realize it or not, cast in the role of the monster, the obstacle, or the sacrifice. And this whole thing plays out in a predictable four-stage cycle. First, you get spectacle, where the character's difference is put on display. Second, hesitation. Their very presence disrupts the story's normal, which is usually presumed to be white, and that causes a kind of narrative unease. Third, violence. That disruption has to be resolved, and it often is, through the character's death. And finally, haunting. Their memory lingers, but only as a tragic lesson or motivation for the white hero. They literally become a ghost in their own story. Okay, so to really see how this cycle works, let's look at a character I'm sure you know and love, the brave, gentle Rue from the Hunger Games. Her story is just a heartbreakingly clear example of this cycle in action. So we meet Rue inside the arena. She's this small, quick tribute from the agricultural district, District 11. And the book is very clear, describing her as having dark brown skin and eyes. She ends up forming this really crucial alliance with our hero, Katniss Everdeen. And right away, we're in stage one, spectacle. Rue isn't just another competitor. She's turned into a symbol. She's presented as the absolute embodiment of pure, natural innocence, a little mockingbird. And her humanity is put on full display, mostly to make the tragedy of the games feel even more intense. Then came stage two, hesitation. And this part is wild. When the movie came out, even though the book's description was crystal clear, some viewers reacted with total shock and even anger that a black actress, Amanda Stenberg, was cast as Rue. That backlash revealed this deep, collective hesitation to see a black girl as a figure of innocence, which leads us straight to stage three, violence. Look, Rue's death is one of the most powerful scenes in the whole story, but it's also a narrative tool. She is sacrificed. Her death isn't the climax of her own story. It's the thing that lights the fire for Katniss's story. It's her pain that fuels the white hero's path to revolution. And finally, stage four, haunting. Rue is gone, but her memory, symbolized by that four-note mockingjay whistle, it echoes through the entire rest of the series. She becomes this powerful ghost, a constant reminder of the Capitol's cruelty, forever serving the main plot, but never, ever getting a resolution of her own. She stays a caged bird, even in our memory of her. And this all boils down to the central, absolutely devastating question that Thomas asks about Rue. Why is the idea of racial innocence, specifically the innocence of a black child, so fragile, so easily broken, and ultimately so unimaginable for so many people within our most popular stories? But here's the thing, this cycle isn't some unbreakable curse. Thomas argues that we, the audiences and the fans, hold a really powerful tool for waking up the imagination and fighting back. She calls it restorying. So what exactly is restorying? Well, think of it as this constant tension between two ideas. On one side, you have the author's official canon, the single finished, this is how it is story. But on the other side, you've got the multiverse that fans create, this amazing space of infinite possibility where they can rewrite, remix, and reclaim the story for themselves. A perfect example of this is the Hermione is Black movement. For years, fans created incredible art and wrote amazing stories where they imagined Hermione Granger as a Black girl, and they used evidence from the text where her race is never actually specified. This act of race bending eventually led to the casting of a Black actress, Noma Dumezweni, in the play Harry Potter and the Cursed Child, a really powerful moment where fan imagination basically became canon.
As Thomas puts it, this is so much more than just fan theories. It is a profound act of taking back control of the narrative. When the stories erase you, you use your own creative power to narrate yourself right back into existence.
And all of this leads us to the ultimate goal, right? It's about moving beyond just criticizing the old stories to actively forging new myths and building what Thomas calls an emancipatory fantastic. Now, there's a more academic term for this practice, and it's called critical race counter-storytelling. It's a method that intentionally challenges the mainstream, dominant story by centering the experiences of people who have been pushed to the edges. It's all about disrupting the status quo by telling a different story. And its goals are, frankly, radical. It's about psychic preservation, about refusing to be silenced. It's about challenging what we think of as normal in our stories. It intentionally privileges the voices we don't usually get to hear. And in doing that, it truly aims to shake up the very foundations of our imaginative worlds. So the big takeaway here is that through these acts of counter-storytelling, whether it's creating fan art, writing fan fiction, demanding more from creators, or telling our own original stories, we can actually actively break the dark fantastic cycle. This is how we start to close that imagination gap and build an emancipatory fantastic, a world where everyone gets to be the hero. And that leaves us with this final, incredibly important question. The stories we tell, the myths we create, they don't just reflect the world we live in, they actively build it. So if that's true, then what new, more liberated, and more fantastic myths do we need to start imagining today?